Okay. What's the slide? Oh, yeah. I love that. Namaste. My soul honors your soul. I honor the place in you where the entire universe resides. I honor the light, love, truth, beauty, and peace within you because it's also within me. In sharing these things, we are united. We are the same. We are one. I wasn't expecting that slide there actually now, but never mind. It's a good one. I hope you're learning that one and maybe practicing it with each other. I know that I am trying to. But anyway, so last week we started a journey to acknowledge the sacredness in all things. And we learned that it's not just about sacred being set apart unto a deity, because that's what we'd been led to believe, that somehow you could separate, the sacred and secular, which meant you either had it or you didn't. And we learned that actually it had another meaning, and that word was precious. Oh, now how lovely to look at each other and the world and everything around us as precious, and what that would do to change our world if we had that intention when we get up every day. Anyway, religion has tried to separate those two, and Anth brought a wonderful thing last week when he said the only thing that separated Moses when he met that burning bush, which was a phenomenon, which was a bit weird, which was a bit crazy, a bit odd, the only thing that separated him from that connection was his shoes. That sounds a bit odd, but it's something that's man-made, that which we can put between us. Woo! Come on, get excited. Something between us, who is precious and sacred, and what we have been told is the divine, which is out there, that we've been told we can't connect with somehow, that it's too far out there, it's beyond us. Actually, the only thing that was in the way was shoes. Now that helps me, and I get more excited every day when I think all the rubbish that I was taught for year in, year out is actually, it's much simpler and much simpler and more accessible than I ever thought it was. Now, we had a slide last week that said we will neither love or save that which we do not experience as sacred. And you can tell in our attitudes with each other, when we do not see each other as sacred, I promise you, we can be flushed. Be honest about it. When we don't look at each other as sacred, even our environment, it took me years to recycle. I'll just be honest with you, because I didn't see the point. I'm thinking, is there a point to this? And sometimes, if you follow the news, you'll see sometimes you're not sure there is a point, because does everything you recycle go to where it's meant to go? I don't want to go in there. I don't want to go that direction tonight. But what I'm saying is we have to do our bit. We have to try. Even if ultimately those things aren't in place that give you the finished result. You want to say, I will do my bit to hold things in that sacred space. Now, it's weird because I know I'm a bit nuts, but I'm sharing this because I just want to, be honest. But you see, I've always found the ground very, very sacred, because I walk with my head down. And people say, oh, don't look up. Oh, no, the ground is full of stuff. I'm a right grubber. And as I walk, I'm looking for stuff because I'm thinking, oh, I can use that. Oh, yeah, there I am. This is the truth. I'm not making it up. I have got stuff like you wouldn't believe, because to me, there's something precious about it. Now, I want to tell you a little story. One day I was walking down the side of the church and doing my usual thing, looking around, because I love pine cones, you see. And that acorn thing at the beginning was just brilliant, because I'm thinking, oh, I love them. I look at them and think, oh, wow, they're amazing. I bet some of you think, what? No, they're gorgeous. They're amazing things. And when they're dry, they do even different things than when they're green. They go brown and they're lovely. But anyway, finish my story. What happened was, I was walking down the side of the church and I'm looking for little bits of wood and stuff, as I do. And I went down, I thought, oh, wow, what's that? And I picked it up. Yeah, and I held it in my hand and I thought, oh, this is awesome. And as I looked a little bit closer, yes, you guessed it, it was a little piece of dog muck. And of course, I've got it in my hand. But you know what? The shape of it, the way it had dried, the little bits of sticky out bits, I'm thinking I can do something with this. Now, okay, I know you think I'm nuts. But here's the thing. Hang on, I'm going to take you on a journey now. The dog muck might be not so good, but go back. The dog, the life, the love, the thing that you take for walks, that comes and sits on your knee when you're feeling sad, that licks your face when you feel nobody in the world is there for you. Come on. So why is the dog muck a problem? I could say I'm actually more enlightened because I saw value. Now, I didn't use it. I'll be honest. I threw it back down on the floor and I left it. I thought nobody will appreciate a craft on their wall. Imagine, with a nice piece of dog excrement in the middle, that I've sort of said, oh no, it's a strange pine cone from India. Or now, you think that's a funny story, but I think it helps in understanding that there is beauty. You can see beauty if you're willing. I know you think I'm nuts. But anyway, we're talking about oneness tonight in our understanding of recognizing the part that we play as human beings in just the great big story. And oneness is the underlying essence of all that is within us. Every single thing, even that dog muck. I'm sorry, I've got to be honest, even that dog muck is an aspect of one incredible life. And we miss some things, don't we, if we're not willing to understand that. Now, even quantum physics makes that very clear. And I'm not an expert in that. But I'll tell you what, if you want to know what the scientists are understanding, it's actually more akin with what we're talking about tonight. They're saying, heck, we're all connected. And, there's a oneness that's in it all. So here's the truth. We are oneness that expresses itself in different forms at different times. It's called I amness. Now, think about stem cells. Stem cells all start the same, but become individual based on where they place themselves. But they are never not anything but what they started to be at the beginning. The stem cell they were then, when they become a liver or a heart or whatever, they're still part of the same source. Now, that's amazing. So there's individualism and there's diversity, but it's still part of the whole. And that's why diversity is so awesome. But why I've just pressed my button. Oh, stink. Hang on. Oh, dear. There you go. But why individualism can be a problem, because individualism allows us to be separate from the whole, whereas diversity allows us to be part of the whole. I hope you get this. It's so important. We mustn't forget that we're part of one source. So when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see a separate, isolated being? If that's the case, you've forgotten who you are. You've forgotten that you were once that stem cell that was part of the source that went to produce you as your diverse self, but you're still part of the whole. Now, here's the thing. There's a slide. Have we got the one about the ocean? Yeah. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Now, some people really struggle with this because it's like when you say, I'm a drop, that means I have an individual identity. If I say I'm part of the ocean, well, where's poor me? I'm just lost. Now, some people really struggle with that, and that's fine. It's all to do with our journey. But you see, this is the issue. It screams out, I don't want to lose myself in the whole. Now, you see, if the drop that enters the ocean thinks of itself as separate, the ocean becomes a very threatening place. It asks, the drop asks itself the question, but who am I? Poor little me. What do all these other droplets around me want? how can I survive this? I am so short-lived in all this vastness. And that can be quite a tragic experience. But what a liberation when we understand and consider that I am temporarily a drop, but I'm also part of the ocean. Now, some of you think, I haven't a clue what you're on about, Chris, and that's absolutely fine. But I promise you that there is something liberating about this understanding, because I know a lot of people look in the mirror on the morning and they haven't a clue. They think, what are you doing here? Who are you? I don't like you. I'm not happy. All this and that. It's because you have become separate from the whole rather than part of it all. A ray of sunlight is the same thing. It's an extension of the sun. But if it forgets, again, it is threatened by the power of its source. But when it's liberated, it enjoys it all because it understands that both are from the same source. The beam can go in, the beam can go out. They express as two, but they are actually one. So here's the challenge. We are one, but we think we're separate. We've forgotten our oneness. And in fact, in our heads, even the Bible tells us that we became alienated in our minds. It wasn't a reality, but something in our heads went, I'm on my own. I am separate. And when we become that, we become independent, and it leaves us adrift. So here's the thing. Do you see oneness in everything? More importantly, when you look in the mirror, do you see yourself as a reflection of the divinity you are? Sadly, we are so desperate for individualism that we forget who we are. So I think we can look at Lion King and we think, oh, I like that. It's nice sentiment. You know, Mufasa the father is gone, but he lives on in his child. But can we embrace that same idea of our Father, whatever you want to, terms are weird nowadays, how you call things, but whether you call God Father or energy or source of all being, ground of all being, can we actually accept that he lives in you, that he lives in me? And then, of course, it goes even more in your reflection. That's why I mentioned earlier about looking in the mirror. What do you see? Because if you can't see some divine reflection, I can guarantee that your life will be very negative and very different. Because, like we said at the beginning, the way that we deal with each other and the way that we love or try to save or whatever is due to whether we feel a thing is sacred. So, the language of oneness, I'll be honest, and I've been in, quote, the Christian church since I was born, so I have a right to speak on its behalf in that sense, but the language of oneness has been very much criticized because it's like, if we make everything one, then we have a problem. Because what about all the bad people? What about this? What about that? So what we've done is separate. And that's what religion has done. It said, okay, the people who seem okay, they're one. But the people that we're not quite sure of, and this gets really complicated. Where's the line? Yeah, thanks, Georgia. I know you'll support me every time. She always does. She's great. She's right on it. See, where is the line? And so we separate. And so there is a group of people who are always feeling that they're outside of it and they have to attain it, yet there's another group who just somehow have it and they walk it easily. Now, what's really silly is that Christians, and when I say Christians, I'm talking about those who are Christ followers, who look back at his original message and say, I want to live that, which is not about a bunch of doctrinal beliefs, but it's a way of being, and that would be a theme for another night. We're not talking about a whole bunch of beliefs, which is it's become, but it was his idea that oneness would be understood by us all. Oneness, right? He prayed in John 17:21. He said, and is it up there? may they all be one as you, Father, are in me and I am in you. And I think we have relegated that to a nice little quote that we think, oh, that was cute. But actually, it was his prayer. And if that was Jesus' prayer, I would like to say that I could almost guarantee that he gets what he wants. Now, is oneness about then us all coming into an agreement about what we all believe? Well, I would say, dream on. Dream on. Because we're all at different places. We've all had different experiences. We all come from different places. And therefore, I think what's remarkable about it all is that the journey is very particular, but we're still part of the oneness. It's like whether you're a liver or a heart or a leg or a hand, it's still part of the body and it's the same source. So it's absolutely incredible that Jesus said that they may be, thank you, one. So it's not a prayer that we would agree on doctrine, but it's a prayer that fundamentally we would have an understanding that we're all part of one awesome being, one life source. So why is this such a problem? And I've already said it in the first slot. There's a desire for individualism. We get to the point where we think, well, who am I? If I have to be one, I'm not going to be anything. And I can see it, why it's such a problem. But I tried to explain in the first slot that there's a difference between diversity and individualism. Individualism separates us, but diversity is just expressions of different things made up of the same stuff. Do you get that? Which is really quite wonderful. Now, you see, if we are willing to participate in oneness, there has to be a death. And we never like death. Death is something that, and again, this would make another great theme. What's the problem with death? I think we've made too much of a big issue about it, when actually, I love what Richard Rohr says, it's actually just a change. We're changing from this realm to another realm. But you see, once you've entered into the lie of separation, I suppose there's a great fear about it. But if you've already entered into a oneness, the oneness is only going where the oneness has already been, where it is, and where it's going to be. Are you following me? So it takes away that terrible fear. But anyway, any sense of a loss of personal identity can feel like a death, because we look to our ego to work for us, and we want it to somehow separate us and make us feel special. Now, that's all right, but in feeling special in one realm, we may not, or we may exclude ourselves from being one in another. So anyway, religions, what have they done? But they've actually monopolized this business of separateness, and they've said, we like the idea that you're separate, and we'll create something that if you will do this, that, and the other, you can be one. When actually, you already are. Now, I just wish that we'd all come to that revelation. And, I say this very humbly, because for 44 years, God was out there, I was here, and I was doing my best to do whatever it took to get in touch with this being. But then I recognized, and it was before Lion King, and it was before all of that, when I actually recognized that, hang on a minute, if I can't experience him in me, when I'm always looking out there for something, then actually what we're always doing is creating a bridge. There's always a bridge. So God's there, I'm here, and we're trying to find some way of connecting it. But if I understand that I am part of the whole, there is no bridge to create. And that's quite an incredible liberation, like we said at the beginning, if we understand we are the ocean. So I just want to leave you with a few things. And it's this. What separation does... Hang on. I'm not good at this. Won't go. Oh, never mind. Separation leads us to feeling hopeless. Because when we're alone, When we feel we don't belong, there's a sense of hopelessness there. Now, I don't know whether you remember a few months ago, we did a night on I can't even remember the title now, but it was that we talked about the 3 P's of hopelessness. And those P's are really quite interesting, because when we get hopeless, we think, number 1 P, it's personal. It's all about me. It's my fault. Do you get me? I can't fix this, so that's it. I'm doomed. The second P is it's permanent. Oh, this is it. It can't ever go away. It's forever. And then the next P is pervades. It pervades everything. It's not just one little aspect of our life. It's our whole life. And so hopelessness comes from those 3 P's. Personal, believing it's my fault. Permanent, because we believe it's forever. And it pervades everything. Now, here's what's incredible about our understanding of oneness. That it does exactly the same the other way. Number 1, it's personal. It's about you, because you are a cell that was from the original source. So it's about you. Woo. And then it's permanent. Nothing can separate you. So it's permanent. It's forever. And then pervades. It affects everything. It's not just when I come and sit in church, honest. It affects everything. Why? Because he lives in you. Do you get it? So, where am I now? Just to finish off. So, what is the definition of salvation? We've had this idea that salvation was always about somehow all the wrongs that we'd done had to be put right, and somebody was there to forgive us. But I like this. It is when you first begin to overcome your experience of separateness. That's salvation. Because the moment you awake to the idea that I am part, I'm not just the drop, but I'm the ocean. And I'm not threatened by the ocean because they're my friends. It's the rest of the cells together. So here's the point. There's a word in African that's Ubuntu, and I can hardly say it. Ubuntu. It's a great word, Ubuntu. It's like namaste. They've got some great words, haven't they? You know, some that I can't even pronounce, but they're great anyway. And it means this: I am because we are. Oh, isn't that a wonderful thought? How often do we live our lives separately instead of saying, actually, I am because we are? Or I am just as I am, in the context that we were talking about God and his encounter with Moses. He says, who are you? He says, I am. And then what was Moses' response was, here I am. So the 2 I ams getting together actually allow us to become one and to move on in life. So, awaken to the light of your own being. Remember who you are. If you want to do something for God, because that seems to be what most people feel that they want to do in their lives when they're sort of approaching spirituality and things, then this is what I would suggest. Stop seeing him as out there. Start bringing him into the oneness of everything. Because someone said, I think this is something that Richard Rohr said, he said that we would rather worship Jesus than follow him. And it's easy to sit in a building on a Sunday and sing some songs and listen to some things, but actually what we're doing in our hearts is rejecting the whole, the oneness. How you deal with your work colleagues, how you deal with things is your proof of your understanding of salvation, that experience of the oneness that is with us all. So, let's see. It would all help us to understand that we worship God when we recognize the divine in all things around us. So the way you see anything is the way you see everything. Now, you might take a bit of getting your head around that. Think about that. What is it that you see? In your reflection, what is it that you see? And if it's you look and say, I'm alone, I'm detached, I don't know who I am, it's because you've forgotten who you are. And all that you need to do is actually just open up to recognize again the oneness of all things through which the life force flows. And I can guarantee that things will change for you. So I hope you've understood and that's been helpful to your journey. We're going to sing a song just to go out with. I know we've taken a bit more time, 5 minutes, but we'll just sing the song, I Made New. And as we're singing this, think, okay, have I been made new? Am I made new because have I recognized, have I woken up to the fact that salvation is when I've overcome my understanding of separateness and I am one. So do you want to come up, guys, and we'll sing this and then we're done. We're ready for the kids, okay?